Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there is a ton of news stories to get into today, so let's talk about GRAN METALIK, because the Raw superstar has requested his release from the promotion because it appears another luchador in WWE wants out. According to Lucha Libre program Mas Lucha, WWE superstar GRAN METALIK has requested his release from the promotion just months after fellow luchador Andrade requested and was granted his release from WWE. Now, in their report, Mas Lucha states that Metalik's reasons for his request are due to his frustration with his direction in the company. They also note that Metalik still runs through 2023 and he's looking to continue wrestling in the United States, in his native Mexico, and in Japan as well, where he competed in New Japan Pro Wrestling on and off from 2010 to 2017. There's no word yet on if WWE is going to grant his release or not, but it's certainly an interesting one nevertheless. I remember seeing something before. This is when Kalisto got released by WWE. That essentially, because obviously you had the Lucha House Party, didn't you, as a faction? You had Kalisto, GRAN METALIK, and Lince Dorado. And essentially, Kalisto, we saw last year that they split up, didn't they? Kalisto turned heel, he was on SmackDown. And GRAN METALIK and Lince Dorado got moved to Raw. And it subsequently came out after the fact that essentially that kind of contributed to Kalisto getting released by WWE, because with him on SmackDown as a singles, they had no plans for him. They had no plans for any of these guys anyway. They still don't to this day. That's why GRAN METALIK has requested his release. But essentially, Kalisto was frustrated at the time. He wanted to do more. He felt he could do more. At one point, right, he was United States champion in WWE, so he felt like he could be doing more. So he pitched to split up from the group and stay on SmackDown, do something different. Got into great shape, but creative had nothing for him. So when it came to budget cuts, which we've seen over and over and over again this year, Kalisto was on the chopping block, unfortunately, and that's kind of the situation for him. At the time, basically the report when it came to Lince Dorado and GRAN METALIK, specifically GRAN METALIK, was he was making good money, more money than he'd ever made before, and he was content with basically just kind of maybe doing an occasional main event, an occasional Monday Night Raw, but that was basically it. And I think everyone kind of felt at the time when they saw that report of that's fine, but eventually it will become too much. Eventually you'll go, look, the money doesn't matter that I'm making or whatever because I'm not wrestling, especially at this point when live events are back and the world is maybe starting to open up a bit. I mean, who knows what happens, but other companies are actually running events again. You know, companies like Impact Wrestling, Ring of Honor, MLW, AEW, New Japan, even in the United States. You can go back to Mexico. They're having events there too. With that, basically the world kind of being available to him once again, of course he would be like, you know what, I'm not doing anything in WWE, and whilst I get my guarantee, I still do want to work. I don't want to waste my career. So I think his time is probably coming to an end. Let's face it, WWE, they've cut the budget so much this year, and they use budget cuts to release so many big superstars that surely if they have a star come to them like GRAN METALIK and go, I want my release, why would they say no? You know what I mean? You're constantly trying to save money. You're constantly trying to trim the fat. Well, I'm telling you, I don't want to be here, so fire me. So I don't know what WWE are going to do and if they're going to grant his request or not. But if it was me, if I was WWE, I'd go, okay, I'm looking to get rid of people anyway, so why not? Why not grant his release? As far as where he would go, he would do very well in multiple companies. I don't know if he would go to AEW. He would basically be appearing on Dark and Dark Elevation. And that would be about it. I mean, don't get me wrong, GRAN METALIK, top talent, top talent, really, really good talent. There have been several people on several occasions that have tried to elevate this guy, get this guy into more meaningful programs, right? Daniel Bryan, when he was part of the SmackDown creative team, was constantly saying, get GRAN METALIK in. I think he wrestled GRAN METALIK, right? It was Paul Heyman, when he was the executive director of Monday Night Raw, wanted GRAN METALIK involved then. That's why he had GRAN METALIK versus Rey Mysterio on Monday Night Raw in 2019. Great matches, but Vince McMahon has his feelings about people, and it was just never going to happen. It's not on the card. So I would say to WWE, just grant this guy's release, and he would do very well in Impact, in the X Division, or in MLW, or in Ring of Honor, in the NWA. Again, maybe not in AEW because of the talent that's there right now, but he's very, very talented, and wherever he goes, if he does get his release granted, I'm sure he'll be successful. Let's switch gears and talk about Nia Jax. Now, this past Monday night on Raw, they ran an angle, didn't they? between Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. And to be fair, the angle was pretty well done, and it was an injury angle to write Nia Jax off of television, seemingly, because Nia Jax is currently out of action for an undisclosed amount of time. Monday's edition of Raw on the USA Network saw Shayna Baszler defeat Jax in singles action, and then snap at ringside and attack Jax before walking away. Now, in an update, Kayla Braxton announced on The Bump on Wednesday that WWE Medical has ruled that Jax needs surgery after suffering an elbow posterior fracture and a dislocation of her left elbow. She'll be out of action for an undisclosed amount of time. Now, of course, there's no word yet on if Jax is legitimately injured or not, and Monday's attack angle was just done to write her off of television. I would assume it's probably she's got some injury. It might not be the elbow injury, it might be due to something, but the plan is to write her off of television. So that's the situation. Again, I thought the angle was actually very well done. I thought Jax sold the injury very well. And I'm happy to see that Shayna Baszler is actually being portrayed like a badass, because she is. But it's just typical WWE fashion when it comes to the main roster of now they're deciding to build or portray Shayna Baszler as a badass, when you could have done that 2 years ago. But it's just that weird WWE thing where you have to win Vince McMahon over, I guess. But it's interesting because, of course, they had Nia Jax challenging for the Raw Women's Championship a couple of weeks ago. Now she's written off of TV. You know, strange, but look, I know a lot of people have different opinions and feelings on Nia Jax and her being safe or reckless or whatever in the ring. Hopefully she recovers quickly and she gets back soon. We don't want to see anyone out of action injured, and we want to see everyone competing to the best of their abilities whenever they can. Let's switch on and talk about WrestleMania 38 next year, because plans when it comes to WrestleMania are already beginning right now, because WWE officials reportedly contacted AT&T Stadium with several potential ideas for WrestleMania 38. This is according to the Wrestling Observer newsletter. Now, it was noted earlier this month how WWE had plans for WrestleMania 38 to be a 2-day event on Saturday, April 2nd and Sunday, April 3rd, instead of just that Sunday. It was then reported that WWE was still considering a 2-day event for the grandest stage of them all, but this has not been finalized as of right now. So that whole 2-day event, I think people are kind of taking it as gospel, but it still could be a situation where it doesn't happen. It must be said, this is just something that I think WWE officials are leaning towards. But in an update, the Wrestling Observer newsletter is reporting that WWE has contacted AT&T Stadium officials in the Dallas area with several potential ideas, including the 2-day event, which was talked about previously. That is still under consideration, but it's not a done deal as of right now. One idea WWE approached the venue with was to hold WrestleMania that Sunday and then the post-WrestleMania Raw on Monday, both with a 40,000 seat setup. They also talked about possibly doing the 2-day event on Saturday and Sunday, and we're looking into planning, security, insurance, cost of production, length of the 2-day event versus 1-day event, and other locations for the various events that weekend. The WrestleMania 38 Go-Home edition of SmackDown can't be held at the American Airlines Center in Dallas right now because of the NBA's Dallas Mavericks game. That date has. The SmackDown before WrestleMania is sometime taped ahead of time for travel reasons, but it was noted that Fox may want to do a live show this year, and obviously WWE might have commitments to Fox to do a certain amount of live shows per year. WWE has also looked at the Gerald Ford Stadium as a possible home for SmackDown and Raw because they expect so many tourists to be in town for that weekend. Gerald Ford Stadium holds 32,000 people. Make no mistake, and I didn't mean to turn this into like an AEW versus WWE thing, because I know people just don't necessarily want to talk about that, especially in a WWE video. But look, they'll probably see Grand Slam, the Grand Slam edition of Dynamite, on Wednesday and be like, that setup was pretty damn impressive. And they'll want to do something big. WrestleMania is their biggest show of the year, so of course they'd want to do something like that. So I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if WWE went, you know what? We can do the two-date WrestleMania in the stadium, which I think they will go with just because of the success of that format over the course of the last few years, and I hope they do. They just make for better shows and better crowds and better atmosphere and just better all around. There isn't really any downside until, apart from people going, oh, you know, production and cost, but they make that money back. So I think they'll go with that 2-day event, but I wouldn't be surprised if they said, you know what? Why don't we have SmackDown, the prior SmackDown, and Monday Night Raw the following night? Why don't we have that in like a really big arena or a small stadium like that Gerald Ford Stadium, like the 32,000 seater stadium? Let's do something big. Why not? And I think that WWE should do that. Always look for bigger. Always look for bigger, and always look to how you can improve what's already there. So it'll be interesting. I think they'll go with that 2-day format again. For me, it's the right way to go. But nothing's been confirmed as of right now. But they've still got plenty of time to do that. Let's talk about the King of the Ring and talk about Fox. We mentioned previously here on the channel there's going to be a King of the Ring preview to air on Fox, and it's been reported now that preview special will be called King of the Ring Countdown. As we noted previously, Fox is scheduled to air a King of the Ring preview special during the weekend of October 1st and October 3rd to hype the upcoming return of the King of the Ring tournament. In an update, Fox 5, easy for me to say, Fox 5 in New York City area now has the special listed for Sunday, October 3rd at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. It will air in different time slots in different markets, so viewers should check their local listings. The King of the Ring Countdown special is scheduled to air for 1 hour, and it's going to be a documentary-style programming showcasing the people involved, past King of the Ring winners, past King of the Ring events, matches, etc. So that's happening, and be sure to check your local listings for that one. This is a really interesting story. Now, I mentioned when I spoke about NXT a couple of days ago, there was a lot of new characters. One such character was this new woke gimmick debuted by Joe Gacy on NXT 2.0 this week. Well, WWE has removed all references to the new woke gimmick debuted by Joe Gacy on this week's episode of NXT 2.0. Now, this week saw Gacy come out and cut a promo on how the ring is a safe space and how NXT is the home to the smallest microaggressions to the biggest grudges, but the ring is where differences are settled. He went on about how he brings a mindset of conflict resolution and doesn't need to use his male privilege to get what he wants, as he understands that life isn't fair, but he believes we can achieve unity and tolerance for all, and he is a man that will show us how to achieve peace in a safe space that is the ring. He then lost to Cameron Grimes. Gacy worked the match smiling at times. He offered his hand for a handshake in the post-match. Grimes shook his hand, but Gacy pulled him in for a hug and left all smiles. But in an update, WWE has removed the video from the Gacy and Grimes match from YouTube, plus any and all related tweets to the character. The video was also removed from the WWE website library. The only remaining sign of Gacy's new politically correct gimmick is in this week's NXT photo gallery on the WWE website. Now, it should be noted that the Gacy segment is still available for viewing on the NXT 2.0 episode that was just added to Peacock and the WWE Network. Now, WWE received some mainstream press for Gacy's new gimmick over the course of the last few days, as several outlets published several articles on the character. Now, Fox News published an article on Gacy and the gimmick with a headline that reads, quote, WWE pins woke left with controversial new wrestler. The New York Post then picked up on Fox's coverage with a headline that reads, quote, WWE pokes fun at the woke left with new wrestler. Now, because of this mainstream coverage, it looks like WWE has removed all references to the character. Now, this is something that the Fox article referenced. It said, quote, WWE has just body slammed the woke left. In the latest broadcast Tuesday of NXT 2.0, which showcases the up-and-coming pro wrestling stars from its developmental system, WWE introduced a character called Joe Gacy, who immediately raised eyebrows of fans in the arena and the TV audience when he started spouting some of the trademark rhetoric of the woke left. So, this is an interesting one. I mean, in the past, WWE has done a lot of characters and tried to tap into, political stuff or left-wing, right-wing stuff. Think of Hulk Hogan and Sergeant Slaughter. Think of Rusev, and suddenly he became Russian and a sympathizer to Putin and all that kind of stuff. They've not been afraid of doing that in the past, and it's an interesting one. I know lots of people are going to have different opinions on it. I think it speaks volumes to the political climate right now that, WWE doesn't want to touch any of it. Left wing, right wing, whatever it may be. And they don't want to portray someone who leans to the left as a heel. And they don't want to, I think they just don't want to lean on any side, even though many in that company we know what sides they lean on. So we'll just leave it as that. But it'll be interesting to see what they do with that character going forward and see how, if they're going to even be on the show going forward. That's certainly going to be interesting. It's SmackDown tonight, of course, on Fox, and WWE has announced a new talk show coming to SmackDown that will premiere tonight with one Happy Corbin. Because Happy Corbin will premiere his new talk show segment during tonight's WWE SmackDown on Fox. WWE announced last night that Happy Corbin will premiere Happy Talk on Friday's show. This comes as Corbin, of course, has been feuding with Kevin Owens as of late. WWE noted in their announcement, quote, "Don't miss the world premiere of Happy Talk with Happy Corbin this Friday, whether he's sporting a brand new Bentley, expounding on the virtues of Wagyu beef or just launching sneak attacks on Kevin Owens. Everything has been coming up aces for Happy Corbin since he reclaimed his fortune in Las Vegas several weeks ago. Now prepare yourself as Corbin shares his special brand of chaotic joy with the world premiere of WWE's newest talk show. I'll be honest here, it does nothing for me. It does absolutely nothing for me. But look, I'm going to give Baron Corbin credit because, in fairness, when he was down on his luck, Corbin, and he was destitute, and he was coming out with the white shirt with the mustard stain, and he grew his beard out and his hair out, it was tremendous. It was tremendous stuff. I'm not as big, I'll be honest with you, on Happy Corbin. Happy Corbin, once again, is quite insufferable, and, down and out Corbin was a lot funner and a lot more entertaining to watch. But I guess at the end of the day, he's a heel. The thing I will give WWE credit for this about, whilst this talk show does nothing for me and it just seems silly, it's a genuine character arc for someone, and we don't see that often. WWE goes week to week to week to week to week with no long-term planning. At least with this character, there is some kind of character arc. Again, I would think now, just where do they go now with Happy Corbin? And I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it, but I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt because I do think the Corbin stuff, again, through the summer was pretty good, especially the destitute Corbin. Whether or not it continues, time will tell. We'll have to wait and see. Speaking of NXT, we spoke about NXT a couple of minutes ago. There's an update when it comes to the NXT viewership for this week's episode. Tuesday's live edition of NXT 2.0 drew 746,000 viewers on the USA Network, according to Nielsen via Showbuzz Daily. This is down just over 3% from last week's revamp episode, which drew 770,000 viewers. Tuesday's NXT 2.0 drew a 0.2 rating in the key 18 to 49 demographic. This is down over 4% from last week's 0.21 rating in the key demo. So essentially what we're talking about here, essentially it's flat. It's down slightly, but it's essentially flat. NXT ranked 11 in the cable top 150 this week, which is down from last week's 10. It ranked number 43 for viewership on cable this week, which is actually up from last week's 45 ranking. But again, I think they'll be relatively happy. I mean, this week's NXT viewership was up over 7% from the episode that aired 1 year ago. The 18 to 49 demographic was actually up over 11% from the show that aired 1 year ago, which of course went head to head with Dynamite. So I think they will be happy. I think overall they will be happy. It's going to be interesting to see where this new version of NXT settles into, because previously they kind of settled into just over 700,000, and it kind of feels like that's what they're going to be anyway. Even with the revamp, they're still going to be at 700,000. But it's almost, I was thinking about this before I started recording here, it's almost like it doesn't matter. I think it's almost like it doesn't matter because in reality, as long as the ratings are steady for this version of NXT, I don't think they'll care, because it's not really about ratings anymore. It is about legitimately making new stars for the future, making stars that align with what Vince McMahon is looking for and characters that Vince McMahon is looking for and Bruce Pritchard are looking for. So as long as the ratings remain steady, I think they'll be happy. So I think that's probably the situation with NXT, but they were always going to go down after the revamp episode, but I think they'll settle into what they were before, and that's around 700,000 viewers. Finally, some congratulations in hand for KARRION, KROSS and SCARLETT, because they are engaged to be married. KARRION, KROSS and SCARLETT Bordeaux are now engaged to be married. SCARLETT took to Twitter yesterday afternoon and revealed that KROSS popped the question, and she said yes. A tweet said, quote, "Pop the champagne." Hashtag I said yes. There's lots of emojis in there. That's why I was very confused. But KROSS and SCARLETT, of course, have been an item for several years now, going back to before their Impact Wrestling days together. SCARLETT has been rumored, of course, to join KARRION KROSS on the Monday Night Raw brand in the near future, but nothing is confirmed as of right now. They last appeared together in storylines when KROSS was in NXT earlier this summer. But massive congratulations to the happy couple. Hopefully, fingers crossed, SCARLETT can appear on Monday Night Raw soon, because as a duo, as a pairing, they're tremendous. And KARRION KROSS and his gimmick right now on Raw, hopefully she shows up and goes, "What are you wearing a mask for? What are you wearing weird overalls for? Why don't you just be normal KARRION KROSS again?" That would be the storyline to do, but whether or not they do that, time will tell. But look, guys, as always, it's just one man's opinion. What are your thoughts on all of these WWE news stories we've spoken about today? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll do my best to respond and reply to all of your comments. Really enjoy interacting with you guys, talking about WWE, AEW, Impact Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, all things pro wrestling here on the channel. So be sure to get involved in the community. Drop a comment below. All opinions are welcome. If you have enjoyed this video, please do smash a like on the like button too. Really does help us out here on YouTube. Got the rankings and get into people's recommendation feeds if they haven't seen our videos previously. But most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to Wrestle News 365, you can do that by clicking the bottom right-hand corner of the screen right now. Or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video, along with another video for you to watch. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or have you come across this video today, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.